Part of the test section, then we get into one little stretch where it is it's carried out over some length. This is basically the same thing that we noticed before, and this is around station 1+40, let's say. But you can see what I was referring to as far as having something which kind of mimics or includes various forms of distress. Again, where it's pumped like that, I'm referring to it as moderate severity. Otherwise, those cracks would have been termed as low severity because they were not that wide. The pumping doesn't appear to have been enough to really affect the surface profile. In other words, there isn't not much or much more severe rutting in conjunction with the evidence of pumping as opposed to what we have seen on some other test sections in other places. We've got a stretch in here between stations 2 and 3 where there's very little of anything. We noticed about 20 feet of very narrow longitudinal crack, but that was about it. As we come upon station 4, you can see in the inside wheel path up ahead we have a stretch there which I was referring to before, where we have considerable amount of pumping, and this extends all the way up to right at station 4, or actually just beyond it. In this particular area right here, and I'm standing right about station 3+55 or so, plus or minus, this appears to be the most close characterization of that to the standard types of cracking would be alligator cracking. But you see, as we move on, we get out of that actually, and in reality that really appears to be a series of longitudinal cracks. Get up to it and look at it closely, as opposed to alligator cracking. However, it is all pumped, and as you can see here, we get to where only one of the cracks, or the only crack that is there in most cases, is pumped. What I'm calling all of this is other type of cracking, and I'll just note that on the sheet and try to explain on there what I mean by that. Right up here at station 4 in the outside wheel path, we begin to pick some up, and it extends up to around station 4+15, and then it plays out. In the inside wheel path, it extends on up to around station 4+40, and then we lose any evidence of pumping. Be able to see here, however, the crack does continue for several feet. I'm trying to keep it center of the screen here, but as of yet there is no evidence of pumping in that area, so I'm referring to that as low severity, as I've explained before. Okay, approaching the end of the test section, as you realize, this was also classified as good condition, and this is in much better condition than some of the pavements we've seen yesterday and today for GPS 6B. However, if roughness is the guiding instrument to ultimately define what is good and what is bad, none of these would be characterized in what I would feel would be bad condition, because the roughness is not too bad on any of them. However, on the other two that we looked at, the one we saw down near Gulf Shores yesterday, and the one down in wherever that was, I can't remember the name of the town, down there near Auburn in the National Forest, there was much more distress, much more rutting, and so on, which was evident, although the roughness had not proceeded to a level which would be considered to be, in quotation marks, bad. Standing at the end of the test section, looking on down towards the southeast, towards working on around, On this project, some of the grades that we noticed in the plans are approaching 6%, and that was not uncommon. The only places where we had a relatively flat profile was as we approach creeks or branches, which we're doing here, of course. Walk on down towards the beginning of the test section where the drilling operation is proceeding. And as we go, you can see generally what we have and where we have it in terms of distress.